Hello. Now, some of you may remember that last weekend I did a video of my top 10 favorite Godzilla movies, because the new Godzilla movie is going to be coming out next month, so I'm doing a bunch of Godzilla-related videos up until the new one comes out. So, last weekend I did my top 10 favorite Godzilla movies. Now we're going to do my 4 least favorite Godzilla movies. Number 4, the 1998 Roland Emmerich Godzilla remake. Number 4 on my list is a movie that I will admit I don't think is as bad as people make it out to be, but as a Godzilla movie, it is pretty bad, and that's the 1998 Roland Emmerich version of Godzilla. Now, in my opinion, this really isn't a real Godzilla movie. Like, I actually don't consider this to be an official part of the franchise, and if you remember correctly, 2 years ago, I reviewed all the Godzilla movies, but I didn't review this one. Now, since the new one is coming out, I am actually going to be reviewing this one next weekend, so I'll tell you more of my thoughts on it, but I will admit, I don't think the film is as bad as people make it out to be, and I am one of those people who does say that the worst thing about this movie is the fact that it's called Godzilla, but the reason I'm not a big fan of this movie is mainly because I don't really care for any of the characters in the movie, and I don't think the acting is all that great either. Now, if I liked the characters and I thought the acting was good, I might actually be defending this movie, but the fact that I don't like the acting and I can't relate to any of the characters, I personally don't think it's a very good movie, and as I said before, I don't consider it to be a real Godzilla movie, but since it does have the name Godzilla, it's kind of unavoidable to not talk about this, so yeah, so I decided to talk about it in this video, and I am going to be doing a standalone review for this next week. Number 3. Godzilla 2000. Number 3 on my list is Godzilla 2000. Now, this came out in 1999 in Japan, but it came out here in the United States in the year 2000. Now, this is the first in what is known as the Millennium Godzilla series, and I have to say, out of the 3 Godzilla series, the Millennium series was probably my least favorite, although it did have some good ones in it, but this, in my opinion, is the first and worst of the Millennium series. I mean, I personally don't care for the movie. I know some people do, but this one just didn't do it for me. But yeah, number 3 is Godzilla 2000. Number 2, Godzilla Raids Again. Number 2 on my list is Godzilla Raids Again. Now, I will say, though I do not like this movie, I do respect the movie because this was the first of many Godzilla sequels, and this does introduce another monster into the Godzilla franchise, and that monster, of course, is Anguirus, or Anguillus. It seems to be pronounced differently. I always pronounced it Anguillus, but I think it's actually pronounced Anguirus. I know I'm saying it wrong, but, but Godzilla Raids Again was the first of many Godzilla sequels, and the film came out, I think, literally only 6 months after the original one came out, so you can definitely tell this movie was rushed, and also, the original Godzilla movie had a very dark and grim tone to it, but the grim tone that the first movie had is almost completely lost in this movie. Now, I wouldn't mind that so much, but the reason I'm not a big fan of this movie is because I feel like this movie tries too hard to be like the first one, and frankly, I just find this movie to be downright boring, to be honest, and, now there are 2 versions of this movie. There's the original Japanese version, but when they released this in America in 1959, they re-edited the whole movie as a movie called Gigantus the Fire Monster. Now, the original Japanese version of this, Godzilla Raids Again, sucks in the sense that it's really boring, but the Americanized version of this, which is called Gigantus the Fire Monster, is bad in a hilarious way. Like, literally, The Japanese version of this might put you to sleep, but the Americanized version of this is almost hilarious in how bad it actually is. But frankly, I don't recommend this movie unless you're like a real hardcore Godzilla fan. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I do respect it because it was the first of many Godzilla sequels, but the fact of the matter is I'm not a big fan of it. So yeah, number 2 is Godzilla Raids Again. Number 1, Godzilla's Revenge, aka All Monsters Attack. And the worst Godzilla movie of all time is... this piece of crap. And if any of you want to know what I think of this piece of crap... Damn it, it won't burn! It won't burn! I have an idea. That's what I think of Godzilla's Revenge. Huh? No! 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 It can't be killed! It can't